Shut up and sit down.
The good bike rider is easy to recognize. He makes sure his bicycle is always in perfect mechanical condition. He learns how to ride and knows all the bicycle rules and traffic laws before riding on the streets.
Some people play basketball, some fly their kite. But as for me, there's only one thing I like, and that is to pedal with all my might when I'm riding my bike.
You pressed play and are now listening to the Dialed Podcast with Matt Legrand, Evan Price, Lance Hepler, and Jake Von Duren. For your information, spending today complaining about yesterday won't make tomorrow any better. Enjoy the show.
Let's go riding on our bikes, there is so much to see. Let's go riding on our bikes, come along with me. Let's go riding on our bikes, come riding with me.
You can choose to take your finite time and energy and effort, and you can spend it complaining, or you can spend it playing the game hard, which is probably going to be more helpful to you in the long run.
Hi, and welcome back to the Dial Podcast. I'm Jake Von Duren. Today I'm here with Lance Hepler.
Lance Romance in the studio.
In studio.
And very excited for some reason this morning.
We've got everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to his right, we've got Evan Speedos Price.
I wear Speedos. When I'm at the store, you know I'm wearing my Speedos. When I'm doing cardio, I'm wearing Speedos.
Hey, Evan.
I actually need to pick a race for next year where I'm going to race in a Speedo. That needs to actually... I've now talked this about a couple people. Columbia River? I'd be fine with that. I was actually thinking of even going back east and doing like a big race out there in a
Come
Speedo.
out to the Columbia River, but do like the sprint in your Speedo and just go as fast as you can by everybody. Just
Was
like
it-
full sprint on
Was it like
everything.
National Jorts Day not too long ago too?
Jorts.
I think it was like a couple days ago. That would be another
know.
fun race attire.
Don't know when jorts are.
I did
Jorts
a-
Day.
I
How do
did
you
a
not
ride-
know when Jorts Day is?
I did a ride in Speedos this week in your honor.
Seriously?
Evan. Yes.
Oh god, I can't wait for this back.
Speedos.
You know what?
It's gonna be so
He's
much
telling
better
the
back
truth, and we'll get to that in a moment.
I cannot wait.
I was
Please
thinking
don't.
for a
Was it
second, like, what
short
did
track?
Oh, wait a
Was
second,
it
I was there. Stay
All right.
tuned.
I have to get matching ones with Lance. Then is the only way that this is going to happen.
Yeah. And to Evan's right, Matt Legrand.
What's up, ladies and gentlemen of the internet? I'm here. I'm back.
Yes.
Welcome back.
Look at that. All four of us here
I know.
sitting at the table.
This is the ticket.
That's good.
Matt's arm can make it up onto the table this time. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh, you poor guy.
That's good because I might be gone the next 4 weeks.
4 weeks.
What?
Yeah. Anyway.
The next podcast brought to you by Skype.
It might be.
Evan, you
Yeah.
had a big race.
Oh,
And
God.
None of us, well, I don't know really how it transpired or what went down. I think Lance is in the same boat. I
I'm
think
in the
Matt
same
knows
boat.
probably more than all of us, but
No, I don't know.
Yeah.
we all want to hear it. Tell us, Backpedal.
So I had a race in Boulder, Colorado, which is a beautiful town.
Yes.
Like Boulder's awesome. Matt's been to Boulder. Jake, have you been to Boulder?
I have.
And Lance, are you the only one who has not been to
I
Boulder?
have
here?
not been to Boulder.
That's really shocking,
Funny.
actually.
have
The
not
most
been there.
well-traveled man at the table has not been to Boulder, Colorado.
Carmen San Diego here hasn't
Yeah,
been.
that should be wherever you're going for the next 4 weeks. Try to get to
Try
Boulder
to
if
get
you
through
can.
Boulder.
Yeah,
That's a possibility.
it's an incredible place. It really is. I'm very lucky to have been able to spend a lot of time there, and I have good friends there. So I went to a race. My mother was there as well racing. So it was a half Ironman distance, which is all I'm racing this year. And honestly, it was a good experience in the sense that I got humbled hard. Like
And this was a big pro men's field.
Yeah.
Correct.
it was a very strong field.
Yeah.
Very strong field. I mean, Boulder is fast. It's the mecca of triathlon in the
Yeah.
world. I don't think anybody would really argue with that.
Yeah.
I would imagine that that's pretty mute
It
point.
used to be the same with running. It used to be the
Yeah.
mecca of running.
Yeah, and I mean, there's, I think the reason for that is just a lot of professional triathletes, short distance and long course, will move to Boulder to train just for the community.
Got the facilities. You've got the right altitude, in my opinion.
Yeah,
as
because you
far
can
as-
get down to a little bit closer to sea level easily, and you can get up pretty high
you
too.
can go
pretty
fast
quick.
enough on the track.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I don't know.
And so the race was at the Boulder Reservoir, which I didn't really know that much about until I got there and realized it is about as sun exposed as it gets.
Yeah.
And it is almost entirely packed dirt for the run.
Yeah.
The bike course is beautiful. The swim is hard, but it's a great venue for a race. It really is. And I'll get through my race because I do want to tell a quick story about my mother too, who had an incredible experience at the race. I got onto the start line. It was not a wetsuit start, which I knew going in. Definitely does not play to my strengths. And we had the pleasure of getting to race with Josh Amberger, who is
One of the top swimmers in the sport.
yeah, you could probably say, at least in the Ironman game, probably the fastest swimmer in the Ironman game right now. He was much smaller than I thought he was going to be. He's a little guy, but God, he's fast. I mean, I was decently close to him on the swim start. First mistake. And he
I'll just hop on this guy's legs.
yeah, I mean, I think before the gun went off, he had a body length on me already. Like, before he decided to move, he was already winning. And he was first out of the water by a good 30 seconds. He was had a great day overall. The top end of the race was really exciting to watch for everybody there. As for the back end of the race, which is where I was, the swim started, and I had talked to a couple other guys who have raced before who we were going to try and form a backpack. And we did off the start, which was great.
And it was one of those 70.3 Boulder backpacks.
Backpacks, exactly. Yeah. It was those guys who were like, oh, hey, we don't live here, and let's make sure we don't blow all of our matches in the first 30 seconds of this race.
Yeah.
So I found out that the big weakness in my training has been I have not been doing a lot of good sprint training in the pool. And both my feet cramped up after about a minute 30 maybe into the race. Kick became a little bit hard, and I got dropped. And as soon as it settled back down, it was already basically that's all she wrote for the swim. So kind of had to swim by myself.
So even the backpack was
The backpack had
off
dropped.
the front.
I think there was like two guys behind me maybe, and they were way back there. So it was
You're on your own.
I had lost the pack I was supposed to stay with, which was a combination of poor training and my muscles not being ready for that sort of
for that
sprint to
effort
start.
right at the beginning.
Yeah. Got out of the water and looked at the watch and was like, well, that's not good. And decided that I was just going to try and hammer the bike, basically. And that was the one bright spot of the day, is that I really liked the new fit that I've gotten on the bike. And it went really well. Like, I was able to push good power all day.
What was your bike split?
211.
Wow.
So
Solid. Yeah.
yeah, it was. I wanted to be a little bit over 26 miles an hour, and I was just barely under it. So it was okay for being
At altitude.
at altitude, not acclimated. Yeah, having just come off of a terrible swim. So got off the bike and had in my head that I have good run fitness and I should be able to run fast, and that kind of disappeared quickly as well. So
what you're telling me is that your swim sucked, your run sucked, and the bike was great. So
Yeah.
what's that telling you?
So we could basically just end it. So we
get
could
rid of
basically
those-
just end this story at, hey, the bike went well, and then this podcast would be great with it, and be like, cool. Who cares about the other two parts?
Just ride your freaking bike, dude.
I was very happy with the amount of work I put in the bike in the last 2 months, and knowing that really did pay off. Legs felt great. I got off the bike feeling like I could have ridden another 56 miles, but I could not have ran what I needed to run.
Yeah.
Matt has had some experience running at the reservoir, and he ran well there, which I'm very happy for him.
Long time ago.
But there was it is hard to describe unless you've tried to race on that surface what that feels like when your legs are
it's
gone.
soft.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is a power runner's course, that's for sure. It's very hard to spring on that stuff.
So for anyone that's not necessarily a runner that's listening to this cycling podcast, it's same for biking in a lot of ways, where it's like the harder the surface, the faster it is technically. But the harder the surface, the harder it is on your legs and stuff like that. So a lot of elite runners will go, they'll go over to the reservoir to do their long runs. Softer surface. It doesn't matter that much if you're going a little bit slower. And so it's good. It's good on the body and stuff like that for
It's
training.
beautiful. I mean, great view of the mountains too. Like, for a long run, it's a perfect place.
But when you're racing, your times are just not going to be as fast, unfortunately.
No,
you,
they're not.
you have the double whammy of, you're running on a soft surface, which is not as fast, and you're at altitude.
Yeah. So it was not set up for success, and I struggled on the run and ended up, I had placed myself kind of back in the backpack at the end of the bike, had ran myself decently the first 5K, and then kind of fell back after that. I think I ended up like 27th out of the 35 guys that started. So it was not the ideal performance, but I do have a race coming up in 3 weeks and then 2 weeks after that. So
You didn't come in last, Evan. You did
didn't come in last.
fantastic.
Thank
buddy.
God I did not come in last. That was actually one of the first questions once I could breathe that I asked Cassie after race. I was like, was I last? And she at that time wasn't sure. She's like, you may have been last.
Oh, no.
So
That's cool.
It's rough.
But the one really cool story from that weekend, outside of it just being awesome, like I love Colorado and the people there. It's great. Like I have no regrets from going and doing that race. It was a tough race, and I deserved to get my butt kicked there. But I still got 2 races to make up for it.
This will make you feel better. Take Evan Price
Yeah.
against the all-star team of Matt LeGrand, Lance Hippler, and Jake Von During. We will do a relay and go up against you.
Yeah.
You would smoke us, all 3 of us.
Can we finish? Could we even finish? The 3 of us? Could we
Does
even
everybody
finish?
have to race
I'd
in
say-
speedos? Is that?
Matt's going to be running along with his arm like tethered to his body. I'm going to make Lance swim because I can't
can
swim.
I was about to say Jake's
I
not
can
doing
do the
this
swim.
And then I'm going to have to try and keep up with you as best as I can on the bike. But we know I can't get in the TT position. So
And luckily, I'll get the BMC, so
There you
that gives
go.
me an advantage.
Share-
So I think
share the TT bike.
just know that you would beat the 3 of us. You can beat all
Yes.
3
There
of
we
your
go.
podcast mates here. So
That does make me feel a little better. So my quick story. My mom, my mom got into triathlon probably like a lot of people from her era when she saw Julie Moss. Anybody listening who does not know who Julie Moss was, she was a professional triathlete back from Lance. Do you know roughly the year?
It was in the 80s.
In the 80s, I know. Yeah, she had a very famous.
Yeah, she was.
Kona,
She was
yeah.
at Ironman Hawaii and was winning the race,
Yeah.
winning the women's race. Had a complete meltdown.
Yeah.
Within 200 or 300 yards of the
Yeah,
finish,
within sight.
and famously crawled to the finish line. And it was all caught by NBC cameras, and she was passed in the last 200 meters.
Really, what made I think the Ironman
made the
famous.
sport. Yeah.
I mean, it really did. I mean, there was a numerous amount of people who watched that and probably were inspired to join the sport. My mom being one of them, and years later, my mom's done a ton of Ironmans and ultramarathons and yada yada. And she at Boulder 73, she doesn't know this till she looks at the start list, but Julie Moss is going to be in her age group.
Wow.
My mom's in the 60 to 65 age group now. And so is Julie. I think Julie is now 60, I believe. I believe she just turned 60. And that was very cool for my mom to start. And then she finished the day in 3rd with Julie Moss being 2nd in her age group.
Wow.
that's cool.
Which was really, really cool for her. Yeah, so that was... She got to talk to Julie after the race. She got a picture on the age group podium up there with her. So that was cool to see my mom at, her ripe young age to still be like a fan over somebody like that.
That's
so
cool.
yeah.
It was 1982.
1982. Thank you, Lance. Also, funny story. They let Julie Moss actually wreck with the women pros, which I thought was cool.
Yeah.
I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's a legend in that area. So
Does she live in Boulder?
I think she actually lives in Southern California, but I do believe for a while she was living in Boulder. Yes.
Cool. Lance, you want to backpedal for us?
Sure, I've got lots of stories to tell from this
Good.
week.
Good. 'Cause I have none. So
Me and Lance are just gonna hog the back pedal today.
I raced 3 times this week.
only 3 times.
The
I
3
mean, there's
times.
7 days.
It's only
What'd
7
you do the
days.
other 4 days? You
I
just be
rode
lazy?
every day. I went crown hunting the other days.
Nice.
Anyway, Monday we had our short track finale, which Jake and I were super excited about. I will let Jake tell his story about what led up to the short track finale.
Yep.
But minor spoiler alert: Jake did not race.
Wah, 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 wah.
And so I went out there hoping to be in the top 3 and knew that if I got in the top 3 in that race, I would make the podium for the whole 7-race series or 8-race series.
And who was there was a couple people that were close to you. I mean, it was pretty tight, right?
Jake was ahead of us, unreachable. Yes. Danny Weichel in the lead, unreachable. Yes. So there were 3 of us battling for the third, and it was both our teammates, Chris Weirman and Terry Hamness. So the 3 of us were battling, and we all just talked beforehand and said, "Look, let's just race. We're just going to go out there and go, and whoever wins, wins. Super. Let's just have fun."
Terry, I'm going to adjust your tire pressure for you, but let's just race. No sabotage here.
You don't need to check it. It's fine. Yeah, don't worry about it.
So I actually had a pretty good race and felt pretty decent and got out there, was in second most of the race, and ended up getting caught by another guy, not one of our teammates, right on the last lap, who's actually I think he's a Cat 1 road cyclist who
really
dabbles in
Was he one of Danny's teammates?
Danny's teammate.
Okay.
Michael Gallagher. He is
Same guy that raced like early on, like a race or two,
and beat Danny.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's solid. He just didn't start well, and he caught me with a half a lap to go.
Oh.
And he goes by me, and I'm like, "Gosh dang it, Gallagher!" Because I was just having fun out there. So, but I ended up taking third for the race, which put me on the podium for the whole series. So that was super exciting that I finally made the podium in that Cat 1 45 plus. So that was fun. And then we had it was the ultra short track relay event, where what happens is when the races finish, they need some time to tabulate results for the podiums. So they put on this relay event, which is
like your favorite thing.
It's just for fun.
Yeah.
It's like one lap of the motocross track. So it's literally like half a mile that you go around this motocross track, and there's 10 teammates, it's teams of 10, and you have to come in and slap high five to your guy so the next guy goes. And so it's just a big party. Anyway, it's always super fun. Dialed Cycling actually fielded 3 teams. We had 3 teams of 10. We had like
30 people.
We had like an A team and like a B team and a junior team. So it was
cool.
Yeah, so we just had
And for
a
each
whole
of the
bunch of fun.
teams, like you can't just put all of your best people on there. And it's not to take anything away from like, you know, the other people that are on the team, but you had to have a mix of at least 3 women or 3 juniors. That had to comprise part of your team, so that it was kind of creating some fairness for everybody.
Yeah.
So our A team and our B team still had 3 juniors or women on the team, and then our juniors team had 2 adults. I wanted to make the team such that there was always an adult in the pit.
Yeah.
So like one of the adults was out racing, there was no one there with the kids. But so we had 2 adults and 8 juniors on that team. So we ended up having, it was 3 women, and it was I guess 11 juniors out there doing the race in addition
fantastic.
to everybody else. It was awesome. Yeah.
It made the night so much fun because a lot more people came out to the race and to be part of the team. I mean, we had so many team members there for the night. It was super fun. So, yeah, the A team did win the relay event.
Yep.
There was about 20 teams or something like that.
23, if I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
and it kind of came down to it. Last year we lapped the second place.
That's what I was going to say. I feel like last year was close for the first half, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you got away from it.
We still won handily. I think you had them by like a half a lap this time instead of a full lap.
Well, it wasn't quite that much. It was only
Are you
like
sure?
Yeah, it was only like 10 seconds.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
Yeah,
all right.
he was gaining on me because I was watching every corner because I went last and I knew where he was, and so I was looking every corner where he was.
So he must have put some time into you on the course.
He did.
Because we had a pretty good lead when you left.
He did.
Lance, come on, man.
He was the guy. He was a single speed guy who's usually in the top 3 or 4 guys, so he was really fast.
He's cooking.
Yeah. So, but anyway, that was fun.
So we won the team relay.
We won the team relay.
Also won the
We
points
won the team competition for most points for short track as well.
Yeah.
And then our team had several podiums.
Correct. Yeah.
As well.
It was fun. It was a good night. So
Where does that put us in the entire like Ober ranking through 2019?
For bar team points?
Yeah, bar team points.
We're almost triple the team in second place.
So it's close. Okay. So it's
We have like 4,500 points, and second place has like 1,600 or something like that.
We have a lot of cyclocross points coming, right?
Yeah.
we need to get out. We need to get everybody on cyclocross bikes so we can keep that close lead.
Yeah.
Everybody, except
Yep.
for me and you.
Yeah, exactly. We'll cheer.
So short track was a blast. The next night was PIR, the circuit race. It's like 30-mile circuit race.
Was this the
around PIR.
finale, or are there a few more left?
No, there's a whole month left.
Whole month,
but it was
okay.
the July finale. They give jerseys for the leaders for the month.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was out there helping Ian Gibson. This was in the 3-4 field, and last week we had 8 team members there, all helping Ian. There was a bad accident last week. I think it spooked a lot of people. This week, there were only 3 of us. It was just me and Mike Guyvan and Ian. And so not nearly as many team members. We decided beforehand that Mike Guyvan would be the one to lead Ian out, and I would be the one to try to chase dangerous moves.
Okay.
That sounded bad, but chase breaks, potential
Yeah.
breaks.
I think that's fine. Yeah.
So
That's a bad move. Let me chase you.
Yeah.
Don't crash into that wall.
Yeah.
So anyway, it ended up being a really good night for me. About 6 laps in, a break went, but it didn't have anybody dangerous in it. It didn't have anybody potentially winning in it, and so we kind of let him get away, and we let him get 200 yards ahead of us or so, and there was a point where I was sitting in the pack and just decided, okay, I'm going to bridge this break and see if it makes it. And so
There were a couple guys in there, though, that have the ability to hold big watts for periods of time, though, right? That was why you went out there.
So yeah, so that was my thought process was, okay, none of the guys in the break have a chance of winning the
group finish.
the group finish or winning the overall for the month. But there's a couple guys in there that if they work together, the break could be successful and make it. And so that's when I made the decision, okay, I'm going to go. And I put down like a huge effort and bridged up to him pretty quickly, which was
Good.
which made me feel really good because I've had real trouble closing gaps before like that, but man, not this time. I don't know why I was motivated or whatnot.
Yeah.
So it ended up being 8 of us in the break. Yes, it succeeded. We stayed away. We got almost 3/4 of a lap ahead of the rest of the field. They were working really well. There were 8 of us.
Did you just sit in and you're like, I'm not doing any work here?
I did not.
Okay. You did a little work.
No, that's not what Lance did.
There were hot laps, and the race is won on a point system.
Yep.
You get so many points for the final sprint, but there were points available for hot lap sprints. So the second hot lap comes around, and I easily outsprinted the other 7 guys in the break. Mm-hmm. And the second hot lap came around like 4 minutes later, and I did it again. I easily outsprinted them all. So I kind of played my cards.
Yeah.
They knew that I could sprint,
Yeah.
and they knew that I could move. So what happened at the very end was, with a half a lap to go, I had been pulling on the front trying to keep us up to speed, and as soon as I pulled off,
They went.
Ben Snodgrass attacked because he knew he couldn't outsprint me.
Yep.
Well played.
Yes, it was really well played.
It's good timing.
So I couldn't chase it because I just pulled off the front. It was brilliant for him. Yeah, and he went off. One guy went with him, and we couldn't catch him, even though they were only 100 meters ahead of us or 50 meters ahead of us. We couldn't catch him, and so I ended up 5th in the overall sprint because at the very end I tried to pull them back, and I ended up dragging 2 other guys with me who both outsprinted me because I was just gassing myself. Anyway, so I ended up 2nd overall for the night, even though I had the same amount of points as the guy who
pretty dang
won.
good, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was really exciting for me that I took 2nd in a 3-4 race.
And you probably
with
took
like
a lot of the wind
35.
over that race.
Yeah.
I mean, you spent a significant amount of time up front, right? At least exposed.
I just kept taking my turn.
Yeah.
And I was trying to encourage the whole group.
Yep.
Listen,
Stay away.
let's do 10-second pulls. Let's everybody work here because it was very beneficial to me.
Yep.
I knew I could probably outsprint everybody if we stayed together. So I was trying to motivate everybody to stay together. I probably shouldn't be saying all this on the podcast. But that was the thought process.
I'm going to put this on a cassette tape and mail it to Therapeutics Associate. I don't know. I don't know who the rest of the teams
actually,
were.
This is going to be like film room motivation for next year.
There was a Therapeutic Associates writer in the break,
Yeah.
David Hart, and and he actually he told me afterwards the only reason he stayed in the race is because I was there.
Yeah.
Because we're kind of friends and we've ridden together a lot, and he's like, "Oh, I'll help Lance," which was
super nice.
cool of him to do. So so he kind of helped me, even though I had no other teams. I didn't know who anybody else was other than Ben Snodgrass because he's a beast.
Mm-hmm.
He's a
Anyway.
good guy too, though, because
Good guy.
he's even come up to us before races, and I say us loosely, you guys, and said that he didn't have a dog in the fight, and that he's out there to work with our team. He
He'll
wanted
work
to
with
help like keep things kind of spread out and the pace up, kind of doing like a Chris Handel type of a move, and it was kind of nice to see him wanting to help out.
Right.
And he's a good guy.
So that was super cool. I took 2nd in a PIR race, which I have never placed that high before.
Wow.
So that was,
You have never won a PR
I
race?
have not.
Huh.
I won a I know. I took second in a Masters 4-5 race a couple years ago.
Gotcha.
But haven't won a PIR race yet. Anyway, the rest of the week was just some riding and fun, and then there was a crit on Saturday, the Redline Crit, and I raced in the Masters 3-4-5 field, and we had 5 teammates in that race.
Okay.
7.
Was there 7?
Yes.
Okay, see. I had 7 teammates in that race. And I had decided beforehand that I was going to try to work for Chris Surratt, a teammate who has a really solid sprint. And he led me out on a race earlier in the year. And so this was finally my turn to repay Chris Surratt. And so, but most of the riders in the race, a lot of them didn't know. They were marking me, not so much Chris.
Okay.
Which was actually really good.
That's really good.
Yeah. So I didn't do a whole lot of work up front, but in the very end, I was able to lead him out to the final corner, and Chris Surratt won the race. So I was super happy about that.
He's probably won a lot of races.
He's won a lot of races, but I was, it made me feel good just to be able to work for him. It was kind of funny. With about 5 or 6 laps to go, I found myself at the front of the group. There was about 35 riders in the group, and I sat up because it was not the right time for me to be at the front of the group. I was still trying to save myself for that final sprint, that final lead out, and somebody behind me goes, "Come on, Lance, you got more than that. You can go harder than that." And I sat up and just went, Yes, I can. But I stayed sitting up.
But I will not.
but I am not. And I let everybody go by it. It was kind of funny because you heard people kind of chuckle and laugh behind me.
Yeah.
And after that, there was a little more focus on my wheel.
Oh, they were like, "Oh, he's fresh.
Oh, he's fresh." And
look at him laughing.
He's laughing. And so a couple guys, kind of marked me a little bit more, which allowed me to really work even better for Chris.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So in that final 200 or 300 meters, I was able to go really hard with guys trying to mark me, but Chris was able to just roll right around me and win the race. So
go, Chris.
So
yeah, Chris is a stud too. That helps.
That's good work for the week. That's a lot of. That's like the lieutenant sort of week right there.
It was.
How many races are you doing this week?
There's only
18.
one. There's only one.
Yeah, I was gonna
race
say
this
we're
week.
kind of coming. It's winding down before it connects with cross season here coming
Right.
up. So
crosses start for a month, and so yeah. So
And then you're traveling at some point.
I am traveling. I will be traveling. I'm going to Las Vegas next weekend for.
I'm assuming that's not for a bike
It's
race.
fantasy football.
Fantasy football.
Fantasy
Yes.
football
Yep.
draft.
Okay.
Yep. So going there, and then I'm coming back, and then heading to Florida with my kids. I'm
So
going
when
to
you-
drive.
Nice.
Yeah, I figured that was gonna happen. When you come back from Vegas, are you gonna happen to overlap on a Monday?
It's possible, but
Okay,
I'm
make
not.
that happen.
I'm not sure. I'm going to try to make that happen.
All right.
Are you going to go through Boulder on your way to Florida?
That's also possible to go through Denver, and
You should do a ride there.
Yeah.
I have a ride that you should do in Boulder.
Okay.
You would like it.
He's gonna be busy with the
No, he's not.
family. You
He'll-
know, I don't
We'll
know.
ha-
if
we'll
you
have
can-
the whole. Well,
He'll be
it'll-
able to slip away.
I don't know how much they're gonna be like. We need to be on the road, and you're like, hey, I need to do a 6-hour bike ride in
Hey,
here
well,
somehow.
I need to climb 12,000 feet.
I gotta sneak some miles.
I am still prepping a little bit for Rebecca's Private Idaho.
Okay.
The gravel stage race in Idaho, and so I can't do nothing.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Just take your road bike with you. Before everybody wakes up in the morning, you
Yeah.
get up well before they wake up. You get on your bike and start riding. Ride east, young man.
Right.
And then
They
when they
can
wake
catch
up,
you.
they
Yeah.
go have their breakfast and all that other stuff, and you can see how far you can get away from them. So
That's not a bad idea.
That's a good game to
Right
play.
east.
I like that.
They have a little GPS beacon on you, and
Yes.
it'll just track you down.
Well, they can just track my phone.
Yeah. There you go.
So that was more or less my week. There was a couple of things that happened, but I'll let Jake tell those
Oh yeah.
stories.
cool. Matt, backpedal.
Okay, well, so I'm still recovering from my shoulder injury, and I will be recovering for quite some time into the future. I did, which is a little bit ridiculous, I tried to swim this week, and I tried to run this week. I just basically flopped around through the water for 500 meters.
Trying to swim with the
It
broken
was
wing.
hilarious.
That's impressive. 500 meters. I didn't know it was that
Yeah,
much.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
solid.
With flip turns and it was tricky because you can't get your arm to go straight to do anyway. So ran with my 6-year-old 1 mile. at about 12 and a half minutes or something like that.
Blazing
Speed.
Yeah. Who
But
won?
He did.
He nipped you at the line.
Oh, wasn't even close.
Drop
I told him.
about the
I
400-meter mark.
was like, "There's the finish line," and he just gone. So.
Yeah. It's like, bye, Dad.
But he did get. He gets tired in the middle of the race, not at the end of the race. So we did some walking. Yeah, it was good.
How many miles a week is he running? Have you formulated a training plan
We've
for
got a
him?
training plan for him. I'm going to have him pushing triple-digit mileage.
Yeah, I think
because
so.
he's 6 already.
I mean, yeah.
He's already 6.
It's like are the colleges looking at
You
him
mean
yet?
10.1? Is that what you mean by triple digits?
Yes.
Triple digits. Yep. Yeah. So that's it for my week. Jake, how was your week?
My week sucked.
Yeah.
Well, let me rephrase that. It started off bad, and it progressively just kept getting like more and more problematic, and then it finally came around like for the very, very end of it. But I've been dealing with this for like the last like 3 or 4 months. Every time I get like a little block of things going well and in my direction of like wanting to build fitness and whatnot, something always comes up, whether it be a stomach flu or messing up the shoulder after a time trial. This time, so we've got short track. We won the team relay last year. We get a little trophy for that.
It's like a homemade trophy.
Yeah.
That gets.
I made sure it was in the video that I posted.
Yeah.
If people want to
So
check it
it
out.
gets passed on from team to team.
It's super cool.
There's a chicken for some reason.
The
I'm not sure if I
tradition-
fully understand it.
The tradition with this trophy has been that the team that wins it, when they bring it back next year for the future winner of the team relay, adds something to the trophy. I'm like, okay, I want to add something to this to give it a little bit more like oomph to make it look kind of cool. So I'm like, all right, you know what? I've got all these bike parts. I'm like, oh, this bike rotor is going to look awesome as like a backdrop to it.
It does.
So I made this little bracket and I tack welded it onto the bracket, and then I had to drill a hole in said bracket so that I could mount it to the trophy. In the process of drilling that, I'm telling myself, Jake, you're not using the right tool for this. You're using a cordless drill that doesn't have enough RPMs. You should be using a power drill. Be careful, you idiot. Jake, you're not using the right drill bit for this either, and it's taking forever to go through. And then in one small moment, because my shoulder was getting tired because my shoulders suck, I just did a little bit of a weight transfer just to kind of put a little bit more body weight over it. In that process, the drill bit went through, and it dropped down a good 6 inches, and my knuckle went right over the top of that rotor, and it sliced me down to the bone. I went, crap. I might have used more colorful language than that. Looked down, and I'm like, that's my knuckle.
That's your bone.
I can see my bone right now. That's pretty cool. And then it proceeded to start gushing blood everywhere. And my dog's looking at me like, oh no, because I got pretty animated there for a second. Went and put a bunch of pressure on it. And this happened at 2:00. And I'm like, I got to get this thing finished so that we can get over there to short track. And then I still
need to
had
be there by 5-ish, 5:30-ish.
I always try and get there by 5:00. So my son has plenty of time to ride. And this is at 2:00. And I needed to finish work on one other bike for somebody. And I'm like, all right, I'm going to finish this trophy, and I have just enough time to get the bike ready, get the truck loaded up, and then we can get out of here. Well, instead of working on bike, I was off to urgent care to get stitches, and I sat in urgent care for 2.5 hours waiting for it to get stitched up. I got 6 stitches and made it home just in time to snag my son and get there with just enough time for him to go out and get a pre-ride in.
Oh, wow.
And while I'm getting stitched up, I'm looking at the doc. I'm like, hey, doc, what do you think? You think I can ride a bike last night? And he kind of looked at me funny. He's like, well, I'm not going to tell you no because you're going to do what you're going to do, but just use your best judgment. I'm like thinking to myself, I got this. I can do this. It's just a couple stitches. Worst case scenario, I rip them out and they have to, super glue it shut or something like that. As soon as he's done, I go to make a fist. I'm like, oh, yep, that's not going to happen. I couldn't even barely move my middle finger to pull it back in. So I knew that the night was over. So I went out and watched everybody else race and brought my camera with me and took, drum roll please, over 2,000 pictures. Now, it's on burst mode so that I can get a really good shot for a lot of people. So, instead of taking one, a lot of times it's taking 3, but that's still a lot of freaking pictures to have to go through and edit and delete and pare it down. And I ended up posting on our Flickr page for not only our team, but everybody who was out there. Took pictures of as many people as I could. It was over 700 pictures that I posted up for people to have. So I guess that's the bright, shiny part of that whole thing. And then I got to watch the team relay thing go off. And that was what I was looking for. I really the race is fun. I go out and have a good time, get my workout in. I wanted to do that relay because the first year I did, I had so much fun. Last year I had to miss it because I'm running around in a sling and just telling myself you're going to be back out there next year. This year sucks. You'll get back to it next year. And here I am again on the sidelines with my hand all wrapped up, looking like an idiot. So
I think you're set for the next 10 years of good luck. I think.
I don't know.
Is that how this works?
Or maybe it's just bad luck building off of bad luck. I don't know. So that was fun to watch. And then Tuesday, couldn't wrap my hand around a set of handlebars. didn't get to ride. Wednesday, same scenario. Thursday rolls around, and I'm like, all right, I can get back on the bike, and Lance is over here. Hey, let's go for a ride. Come on. He's like poking me, and he's like, oh, we're going to go do this, that, and the other. So I think Lance was at my house like 3 times that day.
I had gone through it several times. Yeah.
But that's neither here nor there. We finally get all of our fares in order, and we're ready to go ride. I jump on the bike with Lance. He rides to my house to pick me up to go for a ride because, that's what Lance does. He's always just out on his bike. He's just waiting for the bat signal to come up so he knows to go ride with you. We get on the bike and we need to start riding, and we're heading out west back towards Lance's house, and his bottom bracket's making some noise, and that's another question. So we're going to stop by Lance's house to try and fix it. As Lance is trying to fix it, I'm noticing that there's something wrong with my bike's Di2. It's telling me that on my Garmin that I have a 5339, and this is just minutia, 5339 chain ring. I'm like, well, that's maybe why it's just shifting just a tiny bit off, because the synchro shift, you need to tell what the gear ratios are so that it shifts appropriately. So while I'm waiting for Lance to correct his bike, I'm like, well, I'm standing here. I might as well just fix that, because you can go in using the app, you can pull it up, and you can change it from 5339 to 5236. I'm going to do this real quick. Oh, if you want to do this, Jake, you need to update the firmware real quick, says the app. Push OK. Updating the firmware for the little Bluetooth guy, halfway through, error. I'm like, uh-oh. I remember last time this happened. That wasn't good. Tried to do it again. Error. Turn off my phone, turn off the Garmin, and unplugged everything, pull it back up, error. Bike is completely non-responsive, like zero, nothing.
Quit shifting entirely.
Yeah. I'm stuck in my small ring, 36, and probably, I don't know, like
it was
halfway
like
up the cassette
or something.
It was spinning. Like my max speed, like my comfortable max speed with my Cades was about 14.5, 15 miles an hour. I'm like, Lance, I hate to say this, but I'm gonna just ride home. Lance, I'll ride with you. And he and his wife Brandy actually joined.
Came with us
exactly.
too.
So we had a speed cadence race-a-thon. We looked like the biggest idiots on the side of the road, and we were rolling along, and like Lance just kind of cruising. And then all of a sudden, I came blasting by, and I'm not kidding you, my cadence was over 180. I think I hit 191 according to my garden.
And record.
Yes,
that has to be. Have you ever touched one? I don't even know what 190 would look like.
I got up to like 26.5 miles an hour. And so Lance sees that and he's like, I'm going to do this too. So he left his bike in the same gear combination. And he and I were like racing each other back and forth all the way to my house for like, was it like 12 miles or something?
It was like 12 miles back. And we're spinning at 175 or 180 as fast as we can.
Oh my God. Fast.
Yeah. And Lance is like, I can't get my butt from bouncing and whatnot up and down. I'm like, watch this. And I go by him at like 175. My butt's like perfectly flat on there. And he's like, how'd you do that? And I'm like giving him a pointer. So we were doing those speed cadence drills, which was fun.
Cadence drills. So
it was fun.
That's probably great training right there.
Yeah. So the highlight of the week for me riding were 2 things. One was our Fog Hat Friday ride. We did the Ugliest Kit competition, and the winner was Lance Hepler.
I am the victor. Okay. I won that race this week.
I feel like we should do that once a year or something like that, and also have like some sort of trophy.
Oh, he got a prize, but I think a trophy might be in order.
Trophy would be in order,
and then we could do the same. We could do the same thing where you decorate it each year and pass it along.
Yes.
So for the
carefully decorated,
it's just a social ride. We're trying to get people to come out, making it fun, making it slow. So we told everybody to wear their ugliest kit, and there were some fun ones that showed up.
There was.
And Lance was wearing
I was wearing a Speedo, a leopard print Speedo.
I was waiting for this at some point, and I was hoping it wasn't actually going to be on the Fog Hat ride.
Thankfully,
the Fog Hat ride.
Again, thankfully, that Speedo was over a set of bib shorts.
Well, the wife went to Goodwill and bought several items for the Ugliest Kit ride, and I didn't feel comfortable wearing the Speedo from Goodwill without. So I did have some.
It was a sanitary
issue.
I think also just you never know how a car is going to respond to that.
It didn't quite stay on me very well.
Was it like black? The leopard print?
It was leopard print
at Goodwill. Those were mine. I just dropped those off.
Dropped those off.
And that was an accident. Right. That was an accident. My wife dropped those off.
I've got them for you.
Thank you.
I'll bring
you.
them back.
I was trying to get those back.
He was just keeping them warm for you.
My wife was like, "Oh, you haven't used these in well over a day and a half," and so she tossed them.
Get rid of those.
So yeah, they were not clean. Just so you know, sanitary.
Oh, that's good to know.
I was wearing this cat jersey.
Oh, I love the cat jersey.
That thing was funny.
Fantastic cat jersey.
My sister and I and our spouses and whatnot, we always do like a gift exchange at Christmas time, and we pull names out of a hat, and everybody gets one person. And whenever I get my sister, she gets all kinds of crazy stuff from like crazy cat lady store or whatnot because she loves cats and whatnot. And then whenever she gets me, I get all kinds of crazy cat crap too. So she got me that cat jersey, which was pretty stellar, and I finally got to wear that on a ride and not feel like a complete buffoon. But while riding, I got meowed at 3 times. I got cat called 3 times by people in cars. They leaned their head.
Hilarious.
Yeah, it was pretty funny.
Nobody said anything to me in my Speedos. I wonder if that was just too offensive.
They can't
to
say anything because they have throw up in their mouth.
That's right.
I wonder if like cars would mess with us less if we had just ridiculous outfits on.
Probably.
I think so. If I was
Might be
riding
worth
in
it.
a Speedo on a bicycle, I feel like people would not be able to get angry at me. It's very hard to
like,
get angry
you know,
at somebody
next
in a
usually-
leopard-spotted Speedo.
Usually you get people upset with you when you ride in bigger groups.
Yeah.
Every year that we've done the ugly Christmas sweater ride, the group has gotten
Oh,
bigger
yeah.
and bigger. I mean, the first year was
huge.
13, then it was like 20 or 30, and then last year it was over 50. People are always like honking happily,
Yes.
waving and cheering us on,
Yeah.
hand clapping. I can't remember anybody that's been pissed at us. So
No.
maybe we're onto something. Maybe we need to change our cycling kits. But
Oh, Lance, those are
I'm showing Matt and Evan the picture of the Speedos.
Oh, I recognize them.
Yeah.
those are tied around the cheeks.
Those are nice.
Yes.
I may have to try swimming in those.
jeez.
We have to pass those down. Sorry, Matt. You're not gonna get those back
Oh,
for a while.
man. It's gonna be a while.
So jumping forward into Saturday, we almost did not have that red line criterion that Lance was alluding to, and the Oregon Bicycle Racing Association stepped up, took over promotion of the race, filled in all of the voids to make sure that it was going to go off without a hitch. Last Tuesday, there were only 86 people who had registered for the race.
Yeah.
I need to get final numbers on this, but we finished with well over 200 people.
That's fantastic.
That's awesome. So
How does that compare to previous years? Do you know?
last year for that same race, I think it was like 148.
That's huge.
So
That's big.
That's good. That's really good.
Yeah.
So, and it was a perfect day for racing.
And to
It
be
was
honest,
so nice.
And to be honest, if I had not been out of town, I would have loved to do that race.
Yeah.
I've heard nothing but good things about Redline. Yeah.
So, it was a great day, but I opted to volunteer because we needed volunteers because the prior promoter had no volunteers signed up and didn't have the porta potties and permits and notifications out to all the different businesses, but everything got taken care of, and I went out and volunteered, which ultimately just ended up being me setting up and making sure that we had other volunteers out there, and I got to walk the course and take pictures for the entire time I was out there, and posted up a bunch of pictures for people to have something to take away from the race, so that they get excited to come back next year.
Nice.
So, and then my week ended yesterday being Sunday, with a great ride with Terry Hamness. He and I were going to go for a ride, and we wanted to get in almost 3 hours of riding. And I kind of had not posted something, but put it out there to him to just do a basic flat, boring ride. And I wanted to get a little bit of zone 2 with maybe a couple spurts of tempo stuff in there. And it wasn't sounding fun. And he said he woke up and he had this ride plan. I'm like, well, let's go do it. So we did this urban assault. We rode all over Portland, and I got to go ride up Red Butte.
Rocky Butte.
Rocky Butte for the first time. I got to go up to Mount Tabor for the first time and actually ride that course.
Oh yeah.
Have you ever been there, Matt Lance?
Yeah.
How come you guys never told me that that's like right in my wheelhouse?
Yeah,
it's like the
it
perfect
is.
distance with the perfect elevation. I'm like, when I am fit and I'm at my fighting weight, that's my jam.
Yeah.
So I got to get out there and do that.
The climb on that lap is like right down your alley.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward
It's
to that
not
next
that
year.
long of a climb.
No.
Yeah.
So it should be fun to go out there and do that with teammates next year. So yeah, we did, it was like 45 miles out to Portland and saw some cool stuff and got to dodge all the riffraff on some of those trails.
Yeah.
Looked for Jay's bike, didn't see it, and had a good time. So that was my backpedal.
That's a lot of backpedal.
Yeah.
It was a busy week.
Yeah.
These summer weeks are busy.
Yes.
That's a fair amount of backpedal. So on that note, you guys kind of heard me complain a little bit in there, huh? Just a tiny bit. So, oops, sorry, getting phone calls here from people.
There's
Stop
nothing to
calling.
complain about.
I think the words got out. Call Jake on Mondays. It's between such and such a time.
Right.
Anyway, so this past week I've had like gripes and like they're starting to spill over, and we're talking about like, well, what do we want to do for the podcast this week? And I'm like, I got all these like little B rhymes with which things to come up with, and
Gripe session.
Gripe session. There you go.
Gripe
But
session.
none of them alone are like a full topic, and I didn't want to just perseverate on the same thing over and over again. So I figured we'd have a little gripe session and pass it around the table and let us complain for a few minutes, and kind of talk about some stuff. So
Yeah, people love hearing us complain.
because we never do that.
I think that's what keeps us rolling, actually, doesn't it? I mean,
The international listeners love it.
I think it is, yeah.
Lance, what's your gripe?
My
What's your
number
gripe?
one gripe, and it's probably on the top of your guys' list too, drivers who don't think that we belong on the road or have rights on the road.
I might have that one on here.
That just kind of drives me crazy when you hear drivers that complain or yell at us. I mean, we get yelled at on our bikes quite
Daily.
often.
Basically,
Yeah.
every single ride you go on.
Yeah. Unless you're wearing a cat jersey.
I like to
Get
pretend that
meowed
they're
at.
actually.
They're meowing angrily at you.
I just try to pretend that they're cheering for me the entire time.
Yeah.
And then it's, I just kind of flip it that way. As long as you're not actually trying to run me off the road, then it's pretty nice. So
I did get meowed at. I didn't get any hisses though. So
I think a dog jersey would be cool too. Oh, we should do like a cats and dogs ride. You gotta have like one or the other related jersey.
yeah, those dogs. I'm surprised I didn't get chased by any dogs. That's another thing that we deal with.
Oh,
is
yeah, there
people's
you go.
dogs, man. If I got
People's dogs, another gripe.
That's serious.
That's
a
quick into
serious
number two.
gripe.
Yeah.
You know what, Lance, you got a good point there. I don't understand what's wrong with society. And again, it's not like we are holding people up for that friggin' long. Now, I do have a gripe on my list, and it's not about the driver. It's about the cyclist, and I'll get to that in just a moment. But for drivers, we have equal rights to the road. We can take a lane. You are dealing with drivers who, more times than not, do not know the law. They just do
Right.
not know the law, and they do not know
But they think they do.
They think
because
they
they'll
do.
tell you
Yeah.
you're supposed to be on the sidewalk.
So-
That's the law. They'll tell you. They will stop you. You're supposed to be on the sidewalk. That's the law. Like that's the conversation that you have, and you're like, oh,
Yeah. So when you guys showed up to the podcast today, you sat down at your seats and you had these little orange little pamphlets. What you got there, Lance?
It is Washington Bicycle Law Pocket Reference. It's all the laws pertaining to bikes on the road in the state of Washington.
Now, it's got most of them. I would say if I went back and compared and contrasted to some of the other laws or some of the other things that come up, they might have a thing or two missing on there. So maybe there's some room for improvement on this. But still, it's a cool little thing that's about the size of a business card that you can put into your wallet. And if you need to have a conversation with a motorist at any point in time, whether it be on a bike, whether it be out at grocery store or just in casual conversation, wherever, you can pull that out and you can show them, listen, you're incorrect, and then you can actually read to them what the law is, and then you can give them the code so that they can know that this is not just us making stuff up, and it's not, it's not our opinion, it's the law.
Bike riders have the same rights and responsibilities as cars and truck drivers.
So we should. I just feel like we should just. Like you don't want to have a long conversation with some pissed off drivers. I feel like we should just give them this.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'm super hopeful that every ride I'm able just to hand this to some angry, roadie and just I don't know what to think about this.
So this is Washington Bikes. It's a nonprofit entity, if I'm not mistaken. You can check them out at facebook.com/bikewa. You can go to their website, which is bikewa.org. Yes, .org.
WABikes.org.
WABikes.org.
There it is.
Yeah.
Yep, I was looking at the wrong thing. Sorry about that. And they will actually send you one of these little pamphlets for free. They don't ask for. I tried to pay them. I tried to ask them for some money, and then they'll even ask you, "How many would you like?" And I said, "You know what? I'd like some for me and my friends." So they sent me like a half dozen of them, and you guys all have one now. If you guys want to ask for more, feel free. If anybody out there listening wants some of these for Washington, by all means, listen. Now we do have a lot of people.
This is going into my flat kit right here.
Yeah,
I like this.
We do have a lot of people from Oregon, though, and I'm sure some of the laws in Oregon are
different,
a little bit different, and they've actually got some laws that I like even better, like where the bike laning extends through an intersection. The whole we can treat stop signs like a yield sign now. I'm really hoping that those things find their way to Washington soon. So it would be neat to see if the state of Oregon has something like that. Maybe OBRA can get behind a little initiative of making some little pocketbooks like this to hand out to cyclists. So, yeah. But I agree with you, Lance.
It's frustrating.
Yeah.
Gripe number one. I think that's probably agreed. Gripe number one.
Evan, gripe for us.
All right, on a little bit lighter note here. Razor blades that do not have guards. So my arms look like a massacre right now.
That's because you shaved your freaking arms?
Now let me tell this story, Lance, first, before we jump to conclusions.
No, let
here.
me laugh at this
for a minute.
Most importantly, we're gonna laugh at you.
Let me tell a little story from this weekend. All right, so and I know Cassie's listening to this right now, cracking up because she got to be first witness to.
Wait.
It's bad,
All
too.
these
It's-
scabs on your arms.
You're
are
not even
from-
seeing the worst.
are
You're not even
from
seeing the worst,
razor?
Lance.
They're not from a wreck.
Okay, so I've been shaving my legs and arms now for 8 years. Now you would think during that time period, maybe the skill has improved. Maybe he's gotten a little bit better at doing
We might
it.
need to post some pictures of this because they look like
gotta be
trash. They
kidding
look
me,
like
dude.
So-
you were in a bad
So
accident.
I got some razors. I'm not even gonna say the company of the razors. They did not have guards, and I was in a rush on, I believe, late Thursday evening. And I'm thinking, I have not shaved my legs since my previous race. It's like, before I go, to bed here, it's time to shave them tonight because I don't like shaving the night, the day before races because I believe in that cycling superstition that you do not shave before
it's legit.
races. No, it's a very real thing. Yeah. So I get in the shower, put on the shaving cream. In the future, I'm gonna use conditioner. I think that's my first gripe.
This is way
Shaving
past the
shaving cream was not a good surface. So, my arms are a little bit bony right now. When I get down to race weight, my arms get bony, and I did not appreciate the angles to certain bones very well. As I was rushing through, I took probably more skin than I did hair at points.
Okay, so this is tough because this is a podcast. This looks like you.
I thought you wrecked.
I thought it looked like a.
So-
I assumed it was a wreck.
So-
and I kept thinking like we need a back.
Oh,
missed
no.
I missed something for the
There
back.
was no wrecking. I rode the bike very smoothly. I did not shave very smoothly.
Are you sure you didn't buy a cheese grater? And
That is literally what it felt like.
what
Going
it looks like, man.
So once I had gotten started, I don't know why I didn't stop and just reassess and be like, let's use some conditioner, maybe slow down here a second. I decided that's a little cut. Nah, keep going. We're good. Okay, there's another little cut. All of a sudden, I'm bleeding all over this shower. And when I say bleeding all over, I mean like roughly what I picture a murder scene would look like.
Yeah.
And it's warm water. I assume I'm just going to continue to gripe and blame altitude. I think I bled a ton because altitude just hates me. And I am now.
You needed that blood.
in
That's
a-
why you didn't swim well. You lost too much blood.
that was going to be the joke. I can't even blame it on that. But that's so.
You're supposed
I'm
to
not-
put blood into you, not let it come
I
out
know.
of you. Come on, man.
I have not cut myself like this shaving in literally like years. I don't know what was going on. And I'm sitting there just in a pool full of blood. I'm like, oh boy, this is going to be a rough night. I had to put on like 8 Band-Aids. I had to like mop myself up with a towel and leave it there, bled on the sheets that night. Honestly, the woman who had to cut, like I tried to organize everything as much as I could. The poor woman who had to come in and clean or just grab the sheets because I had cleaned up all the blood. I had to grab the sheets. Probably thought I killed somebody. Like I'm probably on a wanted list in Boulder, Colorado right now.
Housekeeping, can you send up the hazmat team, please?
I know, seriously. And call the police.
So you got the wrong razors or something? Like
It was just a
something-
combination of poor form, I think.
Did you
Poor form, bad razors.
Did you trim it down with like?
I did. That's the bad part is I even trimmed it down before.
Trimmed it down, and then you went and when you went over it with an actual. I mean, you can use the same razor that you use on your face.
Yeah, I didn't.
That's what
I
I
got
use.
some other razors. I should have. The razors didn't have guards. I don't know what I was thinking.
Live and learn, young buck.
I know.
Yeah, just whatever you're using on your
I know.
face, just use it on
This
your
would
legs
be like
and arms.
this would be a funnier story if it's like, oh, this is the first time. No, I've been doing this for like years. What
Yeah.
happened?
And remember, our loyal podcast listeners will know this, but remember, you used to go like no
Dry.
water, like
Yeah.
dry shave.
Dry.
Still not as bad as this.
No, I used to never cut myself back when I did that. I think that's it. Maybe I've gotten too soft. I need to go back to just dry shaving.
I'm embarrassed for you, Evan.
I need to buy.
harsh.
I need
That's
to.
harsh.
So anybody who wants to comment on the podcast, please send me a message on what's the best women's razor because
You
I
don't
feel
even-
like
You don't
I don't
need
even
a
think
women's
you need
razor.
it.
you don't.
No,
I
Just normal. Whatever what do you shave with? Like a Gillette
Mach
or
5 or something
I
like
think
that.
I think I had the Bics for this time
Bics,
around.
whatever. They'll be fine.
They just need a guard.
I would say like no
About
anything that you use
a
on your
Mach
face.
19 blades and,
19
and,
blades.
and a foot long
Think about
guard.
Your face is much more sensitive than your arms and your legs.
Yeah.
And you can use that razor just the same, and it's
Yeah.
got like little conditioners or like little
Yeah,
like
the little
preparatory things, the little strip that'll kind of raise the hair up before it comes
Okay.
over. That's
Okay.
what I've used for years. And as a matter of fact, my wife liked
I feel
so
like
much
I've
she
used those
stole
in the
one of
past
my
and
old
been
ones.
fine.
That's what she uses as
Yeah.
well. So
Dude, I'm sorry.
It was rough.
That is a great story.
It was so rough. So yes,
story.
my gripe is that they should not even be able to
was it
sell
me?
razor blades without guards.
No, they really shouldn't. So, Lance, you're going back to Vegas where they're definitely going to talk about shaving.
Yep.
Now, Your legs are already shaved?
They are already
What are they going to
shaved.
say about that?
They-
I feel like you're breaking the rules.
What'll happen is during the month of December
You have to let it go.
and January, I will have to let my leg hair grow out.
Those
In
arms
the-
are still looking pretty hairy.
I've never
Do you want me
shaved
to
my
help?
arms.
Okay, I think that
No.
for you,
Stay away from me.
Okay, if anyone listens from the group, Lance's group for the football league, I would say like he should shave his arms instead of legs because he's gonna shave his legs ananyway.
I'm gonna shave my legs.
I think arms.
You guys have converted me, unfortunately.
Or shave his head or something. Like make it like
Wait,
That'd be pretty funny.
Matt, you can shut up now.
I think
Arms and head. I vote arms and head too.
arms and
Yep.
head. I
No,
don't know.
because it was waxing. It wasn't shaving.
Ooh,
right?
wax his head.
Wax the
So-
arms.
so
Yeah.
you're waxing my head.
How about the chest?
Wax my chest.
How's the
Ooh, waxing your chest
Oh.
might be fun.
Kelly Clarkson moment there. Yeah.
Okay.
Matt, you got a gripe for us?
I'm gonna bring it back to cars, man. I feel like cars are the enemy, and we need to establish like. Jake is way too nice on this podcast. He's always like, you know what, guys, like cars. You know, we're working together. We live together. No, they are they. Like I am so sick of going on. Like I feel like when I started biking,
Matt got yelled at while he was on the ground too.
I got yelled at when I was laying on the ground with holding my shoulder, and some car comes by and just gave it to us. Like, what are you guys doing on the road? Like, oh my gosh, cars are the enemy. So let's start there.
But in Car's defense, there was a nice couple that stopped and asked if we were okay.
That's true. No,
They could have been cyclists though.
Some people in cars are nice. Yeah, but
Yeah.
So my gripe is like not giving 3 feet when they pass. Like it really bugs me when people pass too close.
Yep.
That is going to be
A 3 feet law.
A 3 foot law in Washington. I think it's on January. January. Unfortunately,
it won't matter. You're not supposed to harass cyclists. You're not supposed to.
Yeah, but now with everybody having cameras on their bikes, I think we should be able to submit that information or that footage and show them like this car was this
the law.
close, and they should be able to figure out how close that person was, and we should be able to catch their license plate. I've done it quite a few times.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
submit that.
But then what really needs to happen is the word needs to get out that you can get in trouble if you do this.
Yes.
But that's never going to happen because so I think the things that actually work are like commercial campaigns, and you need to probably drop your commercial on late night
Super Bowl
infomercial channels, right? I don't know what people are watching.
I've heard this pretty cheap airtime, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that's the kind of stuff that gets the word out versus like changing the law. That's great, and then people are still going to do it. People are going to pass close.
Well, we already know how well motorists know the law, so
Yes,
Right.
right. I mean,
yeah.
I think it also comes down to, I mean, if it's going to be a law, it needs to actually be enforced. It's just like blowing red lights.
Yeah.
When they put up stop, like
That's-
when you see a traffic camera,
Yeah.
how many people less blow lights? I don't
Yeah.
know stat on that. I'm sure it's
Yeah.
less because you can get a ticket.
the other thing that I think, like if you have, we talk about, kind of like if there was a campaign or something like that, that's not out of our wheelhouse as far as, we have a very large cycling team. We have a large community in this area that bikes. There are certain routes that I think that we kind of tend to do. I could see us putting out signs like there's a new 3 foot law, blah, 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 blah.
The rack route.
We
would
could
be
probably,
great to
yeah, I
actually
mean,
put
like
signs
that's what
out
I'm
there.
thinking, like
Mostly
the
because me and
rack
Matt
route,
do the
right?
rack route a lot.
Well, it's just like then you're biking on a route that people have potentially seen a sign that says there's a new law, there's this 3 feet law, whatever it is, and people are going to take baseball bats to those signs, but like we could theoretically do something like that.
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
Yeah, maybe.
We pick those routes because they generally have fewer cars. That's
Yeah,
why we head
we
that
try.
direction. But then
I
still get yelled at.
like to think most people driving cars have no ill intent towards cyclists. I like to think
most.
this.
Correct.
Definitely most. I think most people do their best to get around cyclists as best they can in this region from what I've seen. I think the main issue is there are that 5% or whatever that will do things that are so aggressive and dangerous that it's terrifying.
Yeah.
And I think, unfortunately, the only way that those people are going to stop is through harsh penalties, because I don't think them being like, oh, well, dude, I'm supposed to give them 3 feet? You mean that's a human being on that bicycle? Like, that's not just going to be something they wake up and realize one day.
Yeah.
Their entire life has led to behavior that puts other people's lives at risk. It's those people are far gone. There is a dude who's going to throw an open McDonald's thing of ice at a cyclist's head is not going to be able to talk down from that level of aggression.
Right.
Yeah.
As much as I would love to say that they could be, those are the people that, if that happens and it's caught on camera, a very stiff penalty is the only way that that's going to get solved.
Yeah.
I don't disagree.
Jake, gripe for us.
All right, put yourself in this situation. We're all on a bike ride, and I'm in the very back, and you hear me yell, "Car back!" What do you do?
You move to the right.
Sprint
You move
around
to the
Jake.
And
Get out of the road.
if we're riding in a group ride, and there's, say, 15, 20, 30 of us, and you hear, "Car back!" What do?
Squeeze it right.
You get over.
You get over.
You get out of the road. Because you know what that car wants to do? It wants to come around us. And you know what we don't want to do? Piss them off even more.
Yeah.
So the last few group rides I've been on, I've noticed that I've got my radar, pops up, car's back there. Hey, got to tell the group, car back. I yell that. They don't do it. They hear it.
Move over, yeah.
They don't do anything. Yell it again. Car back. A little bit louder. Still don't do anything. Third time, I get a whistle. I'll whistle at them because I can whistle pretty freaking loud. Car back, move over. And they still aren't getting over because they're too busy in their conversations. And like one guy's riding on the fog line and the other guy's riding out in the lane. Now, yes, can we do that? Yeah, we can. But is it on us to, at least get over? And I think we're supposed to when it's safe to do so. We're supposed to.
Right. Yeah.
We can ride two abreast if we want to, but we should move or get over or put ourselves in a situation where that car can easily pass us. And that's another thing. If we're not getting over, that person is going to either get aggressive or they're going to have to take a chance to try and get around us because they don't use their brain cells. And all of a sudden now they're putting the whole group dynamic at risk and somebody potentially could get hit.
Yeah.
I really want people to understand this. When you hear the words car back, get over, fall in single file line, it only takes a second for us to do that. Then you can go back, especially if you're on a country road, to ride into abreast and carry up your conversation. Let that car go by. Do that, please.
And give them a wave if you have the time to.
And especially if we're riding on a busy road, should we be riding two abreast? Well, if the bike lane is wide and it permits it, sure. But if it's a narrow bike lane where it's just comfortable for one person to ride by, let's just try and ride single file until we get somewhere where it's a little bit safer. I can think of just like the fog hat ride that we did this past week. We're riding on, and nobody knows this, but it's a road called Lake, and it's a fairly busy 2-lane road. And we've got one person riding again close to the white fog line, and I got another person riding out in the lane, and we've effectively just taken the lane away from traffic. Now there's another one to pass there, but that's still going to piss motorists off. And if we show them that we can have good manners out there, we can have good etiquette, I think that they will hopefully start to reciprocate that, or at least have less to complain about with us. So when we do bring it up to them, like, hey, you got to give us 3 feet. You got to stop buzzing us. You got to get off your phone. We're asking all these things of them. We need to be doing the same thing.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
And
Let me argue that.
Oh boy.
argue away, Matt.
Because this is tough, right? Because you've ridden with me a ton of times, right? And I'm pretty good. I get over as much as possible. I do think that potentially there's some positives to taking the lane.
Yes, there is.
Take the lane. And so here's the thing. I feel like I watched a video about this at some point or whatever it was. You ride almost, so if you take the lane, right, you're taking the lane so the car can't pass until theoretically they're going to have to pass you like a car, like they would pass a car.
Yes.
So then they're going to theoretically pass, when it's safe to pass, right? So they're going to have to slow down behind you, look for an opportunity to pass, move into the opposite lane. They're not going to try and squeeze in while another car comes in, because as soon as they start to squeeze in with you, the cyclist, you're potentially getting run off the road, right?
Correct.
They're not going to put themselves in danger and go into a car that's moving on the other side of the lane. You're getting pushed off. I mean, that's the opportunity for, us to, I just worry that I don't actually follow this. I don't typically take the lane. I typically try to stay over and let cars pass, and I try and wave cars through. But I do see the benefit to taking the lane and saying, not safe for them to pass, not safe for them to pass. Okay, now safe for them to pass. That's when they need to actually move all the way into the other lane, like they're passing a car, like we are potentially like a vehicle, as the law states, like we are a vehicle on the road, pass us like we're a vehicle on the road. And I don't think a vehicle gets too upset when they have to pass a slower moving vehicle. They try to do so safely so they don't hit oncoming traffic. I just don't know if I agree with all of the things that you said. When when someone's yelling like, hey, move over, we should be listening and get over. At the same time, I do think that there's a place and time for taking the lane.
Absolutely. My example was there's a 2-lane road. We've got a relatively big bike lane, and we've got plenty of room for us to ride single. Like if it's more of like a country road, and it's not a safe place for the car to pass us, and we stay too abreast to keep that person from passing us in a spot where it's like dangerous curves, or you can't see them, or you got double yellow lines for a reason.
Yeah.
Take the lane until it's free. Like, you create a situation where you can get back into single file where they can safely pass and get around you.
I am guessing this, and I'm not positive, but I would say this for myself for sure. I probably don't take the lane enough, and I'm guessing that a lot of us here at the table are like that. Like, we tend to get over and almost, I wouldn't say encourage unsafe passes, but I mean, that's we tend to err on the side of getting over and getting away from cars. I'm not sure if that's the right thing to do, and I don't know the answer.
I think you kind of do make a good point there, Matt. I think everybody at the table's been riding long enough to be very comfortable with cars coming by you.
Yep.
And I know, at least for myself, because I was very used to riding in rural Ohio where cars would go by me at 65 miles an hour and pretty much buzz me. I just got very used to it. Like, I never would even get mad about it. It was just typical. But I do think when we're talking about, especially the Foghat ride, Jake, we got some new riders on there that maybe aren't as used to cars buzzing by you. Right. So that is more of a scary experience when you haven't. That's not a weekly experience for you all the time. So, yeah, I guess maybe better.
Those new riders, though, I typically keep an eye on them on purpose
and help them.
They're not the ones. It's the more comfortable, seasoned riders. Like, no
excuse conversation.
Yeah,
whatever
no excuse then.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because I can understand a new rider feeling like, oh God, I really don't want to squeeze all the way over to the right. Because I mean, it's a little scary riding right on the edge of the road.
If you don't have as strong a control, it's hard to ride like right on that line.
Yeah. I mean, like I've literally had to put my hand on a car before being basically on the
on the line
on the shoulder.
So again, to go back, my point was the example that I'm giving. It was perfectly fine, perfectly safe for us to have a single file situation. It made no sense for us to try and take the lane. Even if we had ridden single file and stayed in the lane, they're going to be passing us by more than 3 feet. Yet we were riding in a situation where we were one person pretty much fog line, the other person in the lane, and that's going to piss people off.
Yeah,
that's not helping us solve problems.
No excuse for that.
I think there is a bit of responsibility on us to do the right thing, and that's kind of what my point was. Is when we can get over, we should, and I think that's kind of what the law states in terms of, like, if you can get over to let somebody safely pass you, you should.
Yeah.
Right. When it's safe to pass. Yeah.
When it's safe to pass.
Agreed.
But, if I'm riding through my neighborhood and the speed limit's 25 miles an hour and I'm going 25 miles an hour, I'm taking the lane every time.
Guaranteed.
And I still get passed by idiots in those situations. Yeah. It's like, why is it just like, see bike must pass bike, even though I'm going 25, 26 miles an hour in a 25 mile an hour speed limit? I just don't get that. And I don't think I ever will.
I agree. I think if you catch somebody doing incredibly dangerous things, take away the license for a week, got to ride a bicycle. We can even start renting bicycles out. I will even donate a bicycle so that can become a thing. So you get more people having to commute to work.
In the same breath of what I just had to say too, when you hear car back and it's like a situation where you just like, I'm gonna take the lane, have a conversation with your fellow cyclists and ask them, like, what was the purpose of taking the lane there? Let's talk and communicate this so that we can all be on the same page and we can be better educated as to what the rationale behind our decisions are. So that's probably on me to
I think
go
that's
up and talk
fair
to people.
if it's like, no, we're taking the lane for safety. Like, that's you can almost like, like if you and I were riding, we could say that, like, hey, let's take the lane. This is not a safe time for this car to pass.
Sure. Yeah.
And we'd probably try to communicate with the car a little bit. I mean, that's been my new thing maybe the past like 3 or 4 years. It's just been like, I know there's a car back there. Like, I'll almost kind of be like, now's a good time to pass. Like, kind of communicate with them. And I don't know if that's good or not.
I did that several times
I do
on
that
the
all the time,
Foghat ride. If I'm at the back of the...
You're just kind of be
and
like,
I'm at the
now's
back
a
and
good
I'm
time
looking,
to go,
and okay, it's clear to pass, I'm waving that car on. Just come around all of us. This is a good spot for you to come around. And I just don't want... what we're trying to do by riding single file or getting over is to not frustrate the people with the short fuse.
Yeah.
You want that about a 3 to 4 second
Right.
car back, get over.
Yeah.
They don't have 5 seconds to spare. Their day is so busy on Saturday at 11:30 a.m.
But on the other side, same thing. If I'm riding at the speed limit or above it, I take the lane.
Yeah. Or above it. That's your danger.
If I'm descending, I will take the when I descend large, I'll take that entire lane. I don't want people even risking it because half the time if they pass you, you're going to catch up to them.
Yeah.
It's like, look, you passing me on this winding descent on a double yellow is putting definitely your life at risk more than mine.
Yeah.
Because you have no idea if there's another car coming that direction, and we're going 45 miles an hour right now. Like. Right. You're what, going to go 5 miles an hour faster than that? Maybe get down the hill 3 seconds quicker.
Yep. Lance, give us another gripe.
My biggest gripe at the moment with my riding is my muffin top. I can't seem to get rid of it. Okay, yeah, that's not serious.
No, we can get really. Everybody's got one gripe about how they look. Go.
I just carry around a little bit of extra weight around my middle, and maybe it throws people off a little bit because I can still ride pretty hard.
Yeah,
I'm still packing some extra pounds, but
Think of it as your descending weight.
it's my descending
There
weight.
you go. Yeah.
Okay, that's it.
That's it. Evan, what's another one, bud?
I've got an in-race gripe about people who are on the bike courses during an Ironman. Okay, now this is Boulder, Colorado.
You
There
mean like
are
spectators.
No. These are people on their bike rides because it's Boulder, so everybody's going for a ride, which is awesome. That is why Boulder, Colorado is one of the
Non-participant,
non-participant
course.
Yes.
Gotcha.
One of the coolest things about Boulder is the number of people who ride bicycles there. It is maybe even more than Portland. It is, I mean,
percentage-wise.
I'm sure.
you're talking about two of the best places for biking in the world, the Portland, Vancouver area and Boulder, in my opinion.
Yeah.
In my opinion, those are two of the best for recreational riding. I am fine with people being on the course on the day of an Ironman. That's fine. That is absolutely fine. But there was a descent on that course where it was kind of important to make up time because it was not a tough bike course, but there were fast sections and you needed to get some speed. And I was going to take risks because I'm dumb. So I decided that they had coned us off to the shoulder on this descent because it was on a highway. And the cars were being very respectful, actually. The cars were even getting over when they didn't need to, which was great. There was a group of cyclists that I had to pass. Now, granted...
And they're not in the race. They're just out for a ride.
No.
Yeah.
And I'm at the back of the men's field at this time. Now, I think at this point I was maybe the fifth or sixth from last. But the women's leader, Sky, was with me basically the entire bike ride. She was with me. So she's behind me with her moto lead.
Yeah.
Now that moto lead has to come up next to me. I am touching close to 50 at this point in a full tuck on my top tube. Should not have been on the top tube, but I was taking a risk. Really tucked in. There are 3 guys on their road bikes out in front of us, literally like S-curving on this shoulder. There is
downhill?
Downhill. There is clearly a race going on. It's not like we're just sneaking up on them. There's signs every like 2 miles.
And there's people with numbers on their bikes and helmets cruising by too.
About 150, and I know that this is like the pro field, so they've probably only seen a couple people go by at this point. I am about 150 yards back yelling, "Get right." At this point, I was like, passing on your left, get right. And they're not going to. I have cones to my left. I have to look back, make sure there's not a car there, swerve back. They were maybe going 20 miles an hour downhill. I don't know if they were riding their brakes or what. But me
swerve through the cones to get out into the lane,
and then come back to
at
the
50
right.
miles an hour.
At 50 miles an hour.
Holy crap!
Otherwise, I was gonna have to slam on those brakes so dangerously that there was a chance the Sky was gonna come right on my back. And my fear was like, I'm gonna ruin the women's race if I don't do this pass right.
What did she do?
I didn't look back, but I assume she had to do something similar because those guys did not get over. Wow. They were riding 2 abreast going downhill.
Do you think it was intentional?
I have no idea. I don't think so. I just don't think they were paying attention.
Maybe the motor pacer could have just been like, I'm going to plow you over if you don't get you know,
the motor
pace.
I'm sure the motor pace had time, but the problem is we came up a climb before.
Yeah.
So you come up a climb, take a hard right, and then you're going downhill fast. And I'm not sure if the moto really had time to assess, like, oh crap, there's 3 road cyclists chilling on the shoulder out here. But yeah, that was. If you are ever on a triathlon bike course and you're going for a ride, that's great. I love that everybody's out on their bicycles. Be aware that there's a race going on at that time, and people time trialing aren't sitting there thinking super clear at that moment, so you're gonna need to be careful.
That's scary.
Yeah. Matt, you got another one for us?
Yeah, you know what I don't like? I don't like when, like, you're at a stoplight or something and people roll down the window and ask you how much your bike costs.
You just say more than your car.
That's the right answer. That's always the right answer. But I'm always like, I'm always like, well, I kind of got the frame used and then I got this part and I'm like, I don't know. It's like, oh, okay. It's such a weird question. Do you guys ever get that?
Yeah.
I've had people ask me about that. I don't think anybody's ever rolled down their window and said, "Hey, how much does your bike cost?"
Yeah,
I don't
I've
think
had that multiple times.
Yeah, I've heard you say that before.
So
Are you going to
ridiculous.
rob me if I tell you how much this bike costs?
It's the time trial bike thing because
it's the time trial bike.
It's
thing.
a less common bike to see, so I can kind of
And it
understand the
looks-
question.
It does look more expensive.
They do,
Time
yeah.
trial bikes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They look like they're from outer space, man.
I've had that question asked to me, and it's usually like, you don't want to know.
Yeah.
So yeah,
No.
I can see that. Mine is Shimano. You guys need to get your friggin' act together with your Di2 Bluetooth wireless transmitter. The way that interfaces with the app sucks. So it's just, if you want to make any changes to it, go plug it into a system. And that's the other thing. It only works with PCs. I haven't owned a PC since 2000. I've been on a Mac since the year 2000.
It's time. They need to have done that by now.
Yeah.
It's like,
PC
come
to
on,
Mac
man.
thing.
So my whole bike got bricked because of freaking their app not working. And I don't know if it was like a communication. And I had my phone on airplane mode, but it's still bricked. And you're supposed to, and that's the other thing. You're supposed to put it on airplane mode in order to do this Bluetooth transmission with your bike so that you don't get any other communications that can disrupt that process, because the smallest little thing will cause it to hang up. If it hangs up, it bricks your entire system. Nowhere on any Shimano literature does it say put your phone on Bluetooth. And that's the reason why I did that, is because the first time I did it, when I first got that little unit and I put it in there so that I could wireless communicate with my phone, and I could update the firmware, and I could wirelessly connect it with my Garmin head unit so I could, change screens and see what's going on with my bike, which is kind of cool. I mean, those little functions are cool. I got a text when I was updating the firmware, and it bricked my bike. I had to actually drive because I didn't have this device that you needed to plug the actual battery into, because you need their eTube thing to plug into it that goes into a little handheld device that you can do all the firmware updates that plugs into the computer. I didn't have that. I had to drive 20 miles to a shop who wanted to charge me $50 to plug in my battery and hit firmware update on my battery. And I even looked at those guys. I'm like, really? That took you 3 minutes, and you're going to charge me $50? And I'm like, I just want to list that. And they ended up knocking it down to $30 for me. But still, I had to waste like an hour and a half.
They
of
charge
my
you
time.
$30 for that.
Yes. Like, if you came to me and I didn't know you from anybody, and you told me what happened, I'm like, dude, come here. Here, let me do this for you. I
Oh
know
my
Shimano
God,
sucks. Have a good day. Don't charge that person for that. That's neither here nor there. I won't make mention of the bike shop.
I was going to ask, but I know that you're not going to divulge that, so
No.
that's embarrassing.
Yeah, but anyhow, their whole little system needs to change, and I have loved riding on Shimano Dura-Ace for the past, God, I don't even know how many years now. It's been a long time. I may or may not have bought a new bike this week, you guys. That is
And
coming
it's
with.
not Shimano, is it?
It's not Shimano. It's going to be the SRAM Access Red.
Yes, it is.
ETAP, yeah.
Yes.
So it's coming. My bike, by the way, it's 100% back on track. I was able to plug it in and get it all up to date, and I've broken the whole thing. I'm going to be breaking the whole thing down this week and doing like a full detail on it, and it's going to have some new love on it, some new little parts and pieces and whatnot, and it'll be going up for sale. It's only 6 months old, so if anybody wants a new 58 centimeter BMC T Machine SLR disc,
Beautiful bike.
It is a sweet bike. And the firmware's up to date too.
It's got updated firmware.
Do you want to talk about the new bike, or you want to save that for another podcast?
It's the exact same bike, just a model year newer with the SRAM Access Red ETAP on it. So
Wow.
Good choice.
Yeah,
Good choice.
one buy, or you went two?
I'm two buying it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Not quite ready for that one buy stuff yet. I need a little bit more gear ratio. So
Speaking of gear ratio, I need to get a new cassette.
Yeah, you do.
yeah, and
I
before
like mine right now, but I need a climbing cassette. Yeah.
yeah, before I pass this on to Lance, I'm going to throw one more little tidbit out there. Garmin, your firmware updates suck too.
Yeah.
Get your act together.
I can
Always
second that Garmin one. Yes.
Always a problem. I love Garmin, but whenever their firmware updates come out, I don't know what it is about me. I think I always get the short end of the stick. There's always something where I've got to call them, and then they've got to walk me through a process, and we've got to go in and look at some files and either add or delete something. You know, I had to do the same thing with a brand new 530 that was having problems connecting with the satellites. Like when we were out there on that rack ride, you know, I lost connection with all the satellites
right.
for like 15 miles or whatever it was. And then all of a sudden it decided it wanted to find them again, but it was because of a corrupt file, and I had to spend like 45 minutes on the phone getting somebody on the phone, and then finally we got that figured out. So it was all.
You know what's worse is they have this Garmin Updater app.
Yeah.
That updates all the time. It updates itself. No one uses that app. Like you might use it like once a month or less, and like it updates probably every other day. It's horrible. Garmin, like, look at your update schedule. Like, Only update if they're critical issues or whatever you need to do. Like, just look at your schedule and schedule stuff a little bit more intelligently, like with that particular application, as well as all of your, computers. Like, if they're minor stuff or whatever, hold off for major updates. Like, they shouldn't be required.
Yeah. You're an app guy. I mean, what's the likelihood of something going wrong when you're transferring that data? Just one little tiny piece of that getting corrupted.
Right.
That's
so
highly likely?
So
or?
there's the two different issues. Corrupt file within Garmin,
Sure.
That's an issue that you could see. Like, they could handle it differently probably, but if you're looking at something and it's trying to read this file and it doesn't know how to do it, it's freaking out, right? So there's that. But then the update part is slightly different. Having any of this wireless communication stuff is really tricky because it can fail for like tons of different reasons, and you have to handle all those failures differently. But that's part of software development, and whether that's Garmin or Shimano or whoever, like, they should probably be able to figure this stuff out. Just handle your errors. Handle your errors correctly. Don't brick a device when you have an error, right? So a lot of it would be like, okay, hold on to the entire operating system until we've completely downloaded the new operating system and then wipe the old operating system. If there's a problem and we run into one of these 10 errors, whatever it is, then just go back with the old operating system, say that we didn't, have that install go correctly or whatever, you're still able to ride your bike.
Sure.
So definitely different ways to handle errors, and then the question would be like, okay, well, you're going to keep hitting the same errors potentially, I don't know, maybe not. Maybe it has to do with the wireless transmission. Depends on what the error is, whether or not the next time the update would work. So who knows? I think what a lot of people don't realize is, like, when you do any of the wireless communication, there's just so many errors because it's basically a three-way communication. It's like, yes, I sent this. Did you get it? Yes, I sent it. Yes, you got it. And so it's each time you send any packet of information, it's basically like 3 little handshakes. Yeah. So it's a lot of detail, and it just can fail for a whole bunch of different reasons.
Would you say whenever possible, plug in a device and do it that way instead of doing it Bluetooth or wirelessly?
I would say I would look at the errors, that people are having. You want to report those errors. So then you have a collection of millions of people that have had these errors. And you want to look at all those and you want to say, these are failing because of Bluetooth. All right, we need to just do wired connections. Or these are failing because, our software developer put some bug in there and it shouldn't have been in there, and that's why it's failing. It doesn't have anything to do with Bluetooth, right? Like, Bluetooth is a pretty established, communications protocol. But then, so, if that's the error, then it's like, okay, well, then we need to tighten up our development standards. Like, we're seeing these bugs that we're introducing. Okay, well, we gotta fix that. We gotta have a tighter testing protocol. So it just depends on the situation. And if you have enough data, which Shimano does, then they should be able to correct that. And hopefully they're reporting on some of these errors. Like, if you have an error, you get the error message on your phone, that error should be kicked up to Shimano and say, like, we need to know about these errors so that we can fix them in the future or avoid them in the future.
Gotcha.
So who knows?
Lance, gripe at us.
I think I'm done with my gripes. My only other gripes are creaky bike parts.
Yeah.
I've been dealing with the noisy bottom bracket this week, and I'm just turning my music up to ignore it.
Yeah, smart. How old is your bottom bracket?
It's brand new.
It's
brand new.
I can't
we
figure
just
it
put
out.
it in. We can't figure it out.
It's got Loctite on it. It was
yeah.
It was pretty dirty in there,
threaded?
and we popped it. Yeah,
No, it's press fit.
It's press fit. It's kind of typical of press fit. Press fit's kind of hit and miss, and
I know.
it's infamous with its creaking, and that's why I love the BB Infinite setup, and I think that's Lance's next step.
Yeah,
so
that's our
we'll,
next step.
We'll get one of those ordered for you ASAP, buddy. Evan, you got any more gripes over there, Razor Boy?
Razor
Technology.
Speedo boy?
I don't know.
Technology.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's fair.
No, I got no more gripes.
All right, man.
Yeah.
You got any more gripes? You look like you got a decent list.
I got a
going
huge
on.
list, but
yeah.
I can. What did Lance say? Headphones? Yeah, headphones.
I said listen to me. I said turn my music up.
Yeah,
I did
on your
say that.
headphones.
With his
On my
AirPods. Yep.
headphones.
So in particular, if you're running on a single track trail and someone has headphones in front of you, I find that
that's
super
terrible.
annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you come around them, and you scare the absolute crap out of
Yeah.
them. They jump out of their shorts, and
And then they act like you did something to them
Yeah.
instead of them just being
I've been yelling at you for like 10 seconds, like on your left.
There are other human beings in the world. I'm sorry to.
So Lance, be careful with your headphones.
Yes, sir.
Got a few more that you just want to rifle at us?
Drugs and sport. I would love to see race directors get on the drug testing bandwagon.
You've brought that up before, and I don't
Make
think
it-
that's necessarily a bad thing.
Make it random. Just scare some people. Just scare them. Say you're going to test and don't do it. Whatever. I don't care. But
Does it surprise you that Obra, who uses or basically follows all of the USAC Cycling's drug, testing protocol and all that other stuff. When they don't follow it, but they abide by all the sanctions and the rules and all that other stuff. But they don't test at all.
I think they could. What's interesting about Obra is I think the people that belong to Obra actually read the emails that they send out. So they could send out one message to be like, we're going to drug test this year. That would be hilarious. They don't have to do anything. Send out one email. Just like, we're going to drug test this year. You're not going to know when. You're not going to. Right. It's going to be random. You're not going to know who. I feel like that would be enough for people to be like, I'm not going to risk it. You know,
I can add a gripe to that.
Yeah.
People in their 40s who do endurance sports, men specifically, who go to their doctor, tell them that they're feeling tired and low energy, and get themselves testosterone, and then race knowing that they're taking testosterone and pretend like that's okay in any world.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're telling themselves that they have a problem and that they should be on testosterone.
It's blatant cheating.
So you're telling me all I have to do is go to my doctor and tell him.
Yep.
My wife doctor won't let me do it. She
No.
won't let me get me on the tee.
It's because your wife's a good doctor.
Teed up.
Does Kristen have any openings? Can I schedule an appointment with her?
Let's get all teed up.
If you're taking, in my opinion, Ed, I just hate shortcuts in general. That's why. Do you guys remember the little EPO boost thing? That was advertising in all the cycling magazines for a little bit.
They're still in some of those magazines.
Those guys should all be arrested. Every single one of them who put that out into the amateur racing world. I have no idea.
It's not real. They're probably putting like saline in a bottle, and they're like, and this is make your EPO go up.
In that case, that's hilarious. Actually, more power to them if they literally just put a placebo into a bottle and were like, here, you idiots, buy EPO boost.
It's not real. I mean,
no, well, I know that obviously it's not EPO, but it was supposed to be some like natural boost for it. I don't care if it technically works or not. I do believe in placebo effects, absolutely.
Sure.
But if you are the person purchasing that, you're walking this line. Like there's lines to walk. Yeah. And if your goal is to get onto the other side of that line without actually being on that other side legally, you're still on the other side of the line, in my opinion. That's like getting a testosterone thing where like, oh, this will be legal for 6 months, so make sure you take a lot of this right now. Yeah. Is that any better than the person going and just
I disagree with you. I think that, so like caffeine, right? Like caffeine's a performance enhancer.
Yeah.
So there's all these things, right? Where it's like, so my line in the sand, ketones.
I don't like it. Yeah.
Another hot topic.
Ketones are very hot right now.
Are they hot? I don't know. I don't even know about them. But like
they're hot right now.
Beet juice. Like I feel like I don't know if Evan does it, but like we've all done beet juice, right? Like that's just. I feel like
I don't want to pee red.
You don't want to pee red. You're gonna
puke red.
You want to bleed. You want to bleed red though.
I want to bleed red, and I want to race off of bread and water.
So, here's my theory.
No power meter.
No power meter.
I want everybody to race on steel bikes with bread and water.
I think the line in the sand should be
crap out of here.
I think the line in the sand should be the rules, like whatever the rules are. Like, if they make testosterone legal, then fair game. Like, then Evan can be on testosterone, and if I race him, then that's fair. He's abiding by the rules when we're racing.
I think
that's what I think it should be.
And I'm not going to include myself in the top end professional world by any means. I think in the professional world, it's different. When you have teams around supporting, these guys are putting their bodies to max levels of effort.
Yeah.
If they decided for the safety of riders in the Tour de France, we were going to legalize testosterone and other recovery pharmaceuticals, and all teams have access to them, then yes, I believe that is fair at the professional level. I do have a double standard for this. If you're a 42-year-old racing Cat 3 and you are financially accessible to those supplements and have somebody who can give you those supplements when you tell them fake symptoms, that is cheating, in my opinion. A direct,
I don't disagree with you.
Well,
because you're getting a hard advantage on everybody around you. Let's be honest. Professional bike racing, they are all pushing the line. That is just a different planet of competition. That is, we're dealing with like human beings' health at that point.
So you're saying like, yes, a doctor has. I just think it's like a doctor. The testosterone thing is super weird, right? Because like a doctor's prescribing it, but it's not really legal unless they have a therapeutic exemption. And if you look at the rules for that, it's actually pretty hard for even the doctor to give that to you. So they have to have gone through a whole bunch of hoops, which they probably still do.
I think it's a little easier than that. Now, I am obviously not somebody giving
take a look at it.
But
take a look at the rules for how to get a therapeutic
I know
exemption
too
for
many
testosterone.
people who have done it to think that it's that hard.
Are you sure they got a therapeutic exemption?
That's a good question. They could be taking that.
That's what I
get
think
it from somebody else.
That's what I think is really happening. Is like doctors are prescribing it, which does not mean they have a therapeutic exemption. So I think there's so they're breaking the rules. They're taking doctors giving them medicine or whatever it is. A doctor, that mean. They could theoretically prescribe EPO, all these things, right? But that doesn't mean that you're allowed to use it in competition unless you've gone through and you have the therapeutic exemption, which I think is a little bit harder to get than just, I mean, doctors are handing out testosterone like candy. So
this could be a whole nother podcast, you guys.
Yeah.
sorry.
Oh, this could.
Okay. I should not have.
No, I think it's great. I
That
I
gripe's
actually
a
have
big
questions for that too.
Yeah.
And I think that all of us probably have questions, and probably some really hot
I
topics.
think it's a
I
very
was-
gray world in the amateur racing.
Well, I
which
was
gets
surprised
scary.
at how much I was wrong because I thought you couldn't get a therapeutic exemption for testosterone. Turns out you can.
Yes.
Yeah.
Huh.
So we should definitely make a.
I think that's going to be an upcoming topic,
yeah.
Matt.
Let's
I
do
think
it.
That's a good one.
And I can bring some information
Gotcha.
for all of us to check out.
What else you got on that list over there? Anything else you want to rifle off?
No, I'm good. I'm
Cool.
happy. Now I'm happy after I've gone through my witch session.
A couple more from you real quick. You're in a race. You're coming up on somebody. Hey, I'm passing you on your right. And you go right to block said person. Or you're just not good with your right and your left. You haven't passed that part of your educational
Maybe
process.
that's more it. Yeah.
But no, let's say you say coming up on your right and you don't want that person to come around you and you kind of go over to the right. Mm-hmm. Would you guys get pissed about that?
You should get suspended from the Tour de France for that. Tony Martin blocking Luke Rowe.
That was
Did you guys see that video?
That was an angry block.
Yeah.
Actually, him getting suspended, in my opinion, is ridiculous. But still,
Tony
that was.
Martin does
much.
not seem like a mean person.
No.
No.
In my years,
You're just having a long
watching-
day, man. It's like mile 75 of day 13. Everybody's got a bad day.
This happened in the short track finale. It happened
Seriously?
to our own
It
Zachary
did.
Bacampus. He was coming up on a guy. It was the final stretch of the last lap of the race that he was in.
Yep.
And he called out, coming on your right. Now, I didn't know if it was a bad spot to pass or whatnot, but he called up, coming on your right, and the guy went right, and he went right into Zachary. Caused them both to
They
go
both
down.
went down.
Oh, he caused him to go down.
Yeah.
That's bad.
Both of them went down. And the guy that came into Zachary got pretty bent out of shape and was basically pointing fingers, saying that
Oh,
he's
that's
an
ridiculous.
unsafe rider. And he went over and told his team captain, who proceeded to come over to me and had words. I don't
Yeah.
want to get into that too much,
Yeah.
but handled it, I think, okay. But long story short, when you call somebody out and you're in a race and you say, I'm coming around on your right, now you don't want them just to leave a big giant door open for you. I mean, you should be able to come around. Or you, But if I'm telling you that I'm coming around on your right, or if I hear somebody, hey, coming on your right, I'm letting them come around me.
Yeah.
You just
because-
hold your line, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's, yeah.
I don't think it should be a race shouldn't be like, hey, how many people can I block? I mean, if somebody's coming up on my right and they announce coming up on your right, I should get out of the way, correct?
Yeah.
And in this situation, they weren't racing in the same field.
Oh, that is much worse.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I thought that they were in the same
Oh, that's
field.
inexcusable.
No,
Yeah.
I don't think they were racing.
Okay,
in
if
the
you're
same
lap
field.
traffic,
Get
100%.
outta
If somebody
here.
says I'm coming around you,
But don't
you get your butt out
Do
of
you
the way.
feel like people should pass on the left?
It just depends on the
Depends
course.
on the course.
Depends on the course. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, no, race
Or where in the course.
race situations completely different than like we're talking about with triathlon there, Matt. Like triathlons
Oh, yeah.
always pass on left time trial.
Yeah, and no ball.
I think I've rarely had to pass on the right. But that's in emergency situations when somebody's
Yep,
not,
me too. Yeah.
handling well.
I
but
did not know that he was lap traffic.
That's
It
bad.
was lap traffic.
So if he calls out passing on your right and that guy goes right, he has no business getting upset. Correct?
Correct.
Unless there's something I'm missing to the story.
Well, I've done this too, where like you're startled because someone's passing on your left or whatever, or you kind of jump and you jump the wrong way.
Yeah.
You know, it's like the brain turns off.
Right.
So if it's one of those situations, I wouldn't necessarily think that he should be angry about it. I would still feel like I was in the wrong. If if someone's passing me, let's say they're passing me on the right, and
You
they say
swerve to
on
the
your
right.
right, and I instinctively I'm kind of gonna get out of the way. You just get out of the way the wrong direction or
Right.
something like that. I could see how I would make that mistake.
Well, that's why when I'm coming on
Then I
left
would-
traffic, I try to say, I'm passing on your right, or I'm passing on your left. And usually they will move.
I need a
properly,
second. I
but-
need a second for my
Yeah.
brain. My slow brain it takes a minute to be like, get out of the way, So holding your line is always a good thing.
Yeah.
yeah. And then lady who I saw driving in Portland with 3 kids in the car, yapping on her phone with her phone up to her ear and just going to town on her phone and not paying attention to the people on their bikes. Stop it, please.
Put your phone down.
Other lady that found it necessary to come speeding around us only to turn right in front of us like 50 meters later, causing us to have to brake a little bit. Don't do that. Just wait for a few seconds. I don't know. Just don't do that, people. I'm just going to grab at that, but
probably save
Doesn't
your
matter.
brake pads too a little bit.
Okay,
if you can cruise into the right turn a little bit better.
I skipped the lead-out news on purpose because I wasn't sure how we were going to do because we went along on the back pedal, but I'm going to fly through this really quick. Matthew Van Der Poel, he won the
mountain bike World Cup race in Italy.
Gotcha.
Yep.
Viviani transferred to a new team. He's with Cofidis now. He left Quick Step. That's a big sprinter.
Yeah.
That's a weird transfer to me. Why?
Cofidis.
He was doing so well with Quick Step. He's win. He can win with quick step.
Who was the quick
Kofis
step?
doesn't even have that great of a setup lead out right now, do they?
Dusnik. No.
Yeah.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Anyway,
Money.
Mikel Landa, Matt's favorite rider.
He's
He
I've definitely
signed with,
laid into him before.
Bahrain Meridia, and that's over there with Nibali's team. So
Yep.
is that a sign that Nibali's going to head off somewhere else?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think he's heading out, and I think maybe Miguel Landa will have a team. Does
That
he
actually
choose-
supported him.
Yeah, he does not play well with others.
No.
I think. But who knows? I don't know.
Wait,
So we'll see.
he's absolutely potentially a Giro winner.
Yep.
He's built for a Giro win.
Could be. There you go. Richie Port smashed an Everett challenge. Good for him.
Oh man. Oh.
Sorry.
I'll tell you what a year for Richie Port, huh?
I think he actually
Broke
finished.
the Everesting record.
Yeah.
That's
Well, he finished with more than I think it was about 30,000 feet is what he did in this ride.
I
He
mean,
finished
I'm
it
amazingly impressed. Like Richie Port's in incredible shape. But
14 hours and 22 minutes. That was pretty stinking cool. And then just some real quick Tour de France little factoids that came out of the race after the fact. I know that we're kind of perseverating on the Tour de France, but man, that was such a fun race.
Yeah.
Real quick, the top speed for the Tour that was achieved was a new record for the Tour.
Oh man.
63.1 miles an hour.
oh my God.
That is freaking flying, dude. That's Niels Pollitt, I think. Yeah, Pollitt.
Yeah.
I think is his name. Anyway, he was coming down the Col des Vars
Yeah.
and hit 63.1 miles an hour. So that's
That's a steep descent.
pretty stinking fast. Egan Bernal, his average speed for the entire tour, not just any particular day, but his cumulative average speed. You guys have any guess on what that might be?
25 miles an hour.
I was gonna guess less than that because all the climbing. I don't know.
Now there's some fast flat stages this year.
Evan's onto something here.
Yep.
25.2.
I know. Yeah.
That is freaking fast.
There was a day where they averaged like 29 miles an hour for 100 miles, basically. Yeah, I mean there was a stage where they were
think
flying.
about all of the climbing that they do and just the
it's
sheer
incredible.
volume of that. Granted, they're going to move along pretty fast because of the size of the peloton, but
Yeah.
it's just nuts. And then real quick, the average climbing speed was 12.8 miles an hour.
That is incredible, knowing how steep some of those climbs were.
Oh, and to go back to that average speed, what do you think the difference was between Egan Bernal and the person who
First and last place.
came in last place?
22
Oh, I bet you it's a lot.
miles an hour.
The difference
20.
wasn't that much. It was only 1.3 miles an hour
Oh,
slower.
wow.
Wow.
So that's saying something for
It is.
Oh, anyway, they started the Tour de France with 176 riders and finished with 155. So that's pretty good to keep that many people in there. You only lost 21 people, so
That's awesome.
And half a stage, but
yeah, exactly. All right, let's jump into one last thing, Lance. What you got?
There was a really funny YouTube video made about one of the PIR
cool.
races.
Yeah.
Made by a listener to the show, Dylan Wiggins.
Yeah, so good.
Dylan, that was awesome. I did see that, by the way. It was awesome.
I get made fun
Genius.
of relentlessly
I love
in
it.
which was also
Dylan,
hilarious.
keep them coming. It is great.
So if you want to check
So
that
much
out,
man ass.
Should be a season 2 of this. Season 2 of this.
Dylan's YouTube moniker is Quapface2, CWAPFACE2.
Is that
Quap-
swap face or quap face?
I don't know. Quapface is funny. So I think it's Quapface2. Anyway, it's a funny video. It's only 6 minutes long, and he's got some
good stuff.
He's got some Russian friend of his singing a song on a ukulele about the race. It's hilarious.
He's got
Check
awesome
it out.
videos.
Definitely worth watching.
It is.
Evan, you got one last thing for us?
Yeah, I'm going to bring the tone down, unfortunately.
Okay.
Anybody who listens to the podcast knows that I am from Dayton, Ohio. My family is based out of there. My dad retired from the military while we were at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And both my parents still live there. There was an attack. I'm not even going to talk about the attacker in any capacity, but there was a shooting in the Oregon District in Dayton, which is the liveliest, coolest part of all of Dayton. It really is like the center of the heart of Dayton's downtown scene. I lived underneath the bar, actually, where the shooting happened. I lived under there for a year, actually. It was one of the coolest years of my life. I loved it. It was while I was in PT school. Very stressful part of my life. So being on that street and around that community was very, very important to me. So there was also an attack in El Paso, but really for me, the Dayton attack hit really, really, really dangerously close to home. Had some friends who were actually in the Oregon District that night. it was kind of surreal to see that in the news. It seems like when you see Dayton lately in the news, it's only bad things. We had bad tornadoes this year too, and there's I'm not going to do the whole thoughts and prayers thing. Obviously, everybody knows that everybody does not condone those actions and supports anybody harmed by that. But there is something called the Dayton Foundation, Dayton, the Dayton Foundation, where you can just go and donate money. The city has said money would be most important right now. Food, water, stuff like that is not as important for this. It was the money for the rebuild of kind of that little community there would be very good at this time, and for the families affected. They've set up the Dayton Oregon District Tragedy Fund, but if you look up the Dayton Foundation, that's actually where you can go to donate to help that city. And there's, I may be a couple thousand miles away from there, but there's still a lot of people I know from Dayton, and it was a very sad weekend for that community.
It's terrible.
Yeah.
All right, Matt, one last thing.
I don't have a whole bunch of stuff to dig into. I definitely want to thank all of the listeners who have taken the time to subscribe to the podcast and checking it out. It's super fun to do these each week. Like, this is my favorite when we have every single one of us in studio. Yeah.
It doesn't happen too often.
No,
That's
it doesn't.
great, yeah.
I know. It's really definitely kind of the highlight of the week for sure. Especially when you can't do a lot of activities, stuff like this really helps.
Yeah.
So
good.
Thanks.
Knowing how I felt last year.
Yeah.
You guys saved me. I'm telling you. One last thing. I wanted to put this out there because it's going to be kind of after the fact. We, OBRA, I sit on the board of directors, are looking to bring chip timing to all of racing. This coming Tuesday, which is going to be the day before we put out the podcast, will be the first time that we actually have a group coming out from a company called MyLabs to do some testing, and we're going to be chip timing everybody who's in the race. So we're going to be doing some kind of trials on it just to see if it's going to work. PIRs, the Portland International Raceway, is probably going to be the best way for us to find out whether or not this is going to work for us, because you've got sometimes 30 guys, 40 guys coming into a finish within 2 seconds, and you've got to be able to read all of these chips and make sure that it's accurate. And we've got to figure out whether or not active chips or passive chips are going to be better for us. And there's neither here nor there. But that's going to be day one. And you're going to be listening to this and say, well, gee, I wish I would have known that. I would have gone yesterday. Or Obra's going to be putting out some notifications that there's another one coming up as well. So that's from company number one. Company number two will be the following week. From Innovative Timing Systems will be out there. If you miss out for any reason on going out tomorrow, or I guess when you're listening to this, theoretically yesterday, you have another opportunity to go out there and try it out and give us some feedback and help be a part of the process of us making bike racing even better in the state of Oregon and Southern Washington. Should be fun. So, and then I wanted to, this is beyond my one last thing. This will be just a little shout out. We have a listener by the name of Mark Radford, who is actually on the Dialed Cycling team and the Dialed Triathlon team
as well.
Super cool guy. I mean, it's hard to find a nicer guy. He's just super cool. Fits in like a glove. He, on one of her posts, that we did for, I think it was the Epic episode that we did a couple episodes ago, he says, I'm all caught up and have listened to all 103 hours, 28 minutes, and 3 seconds of the Dial podcast, 100% all while running, and scratch your head on this one, swimming only. So I thought that was pretty cool.
You can listen to headphones while swimming.
You guys have swim headphones?
I don't have them, but
I know a lot of people.
I want to get some.
I've kind of thought about getting some too. Yeah.
For some long swims or
something. So you could be listening to a podcast or music or something like that while you're swimming. That's pretty cool. I wonder if the aftershocks are waterproof that way.
No.
I would not try that.
You have to get specific ones that,
Okay.
Certain ones that are
might be worth looking
usually
into.
one underneath your cap.
but Mark also did Ironman Canada, so congratulations to Mark.
Yeah,
he cut
that was awesome.
2 hours off his PR,
and he can go faster. I looked at his time, and I'm like, he's a pretty studly guy.
And he did the red line crit with us.
Did he really?
On Saturday?
Oh, very cool.
He did.
He's good. He's a good athlete for sure.
Yeah.
Very strong athlete.
His little thing after that race is like, I'm so hooked on this now. So we're working. We're going to be stealing them away from you guys. Just watch out.
We don't got to worry. We don't got to worry. Triathlon's too fun. Yeah.
Does it feel like that we've done that many hours? And he posted that up right after, I think, it was right after we had posted up another episode. So
there might be more.
Yeah, it's actually over 105 hours, and this one will take it up to close to 107, if I'm not mistaken. 107 hours of sitting around shooting the the poo here.
Yeah.
And griping about stuff. That's pretty neat.
That's a lot of angry land.
Oh, man.
and me not wearing pants very
Yeah,
often.
that's a lot of no pants time. That's like 100 and almost 10 hours of no pants, Lance.
76 episodes. This is episode 76, and then Evan and I were taking a peek. Like, where would the 100th one fall?
That's
And
we
what
were
was it,
looking.
like the middle of January? Was it?
It's like at a very boring time of year, so it's going to be
Okay.
perfect because we're going to have to do something.
We're gonna do
Party.
something.
Yeah, it should
like
be
your
fun.
top 10 favorite
Let's do
moments.
let's do a live one from like Hopworks or somewhere.
That would be sweet.
Yeah.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah, we should have to do a live one.
All right. Well, guys, it was good having you all back in the studio.
Mm-hmm.
It was fun while it lasted. Lance is going to be jetting out of here, so
Yeah.
Skyping in.
Later, Lance.
I'm out.
Yeah.
And it was a great time sitting around with you guys today. Thank you again for coming and to gripe with me and letting me kind of be a little bit here. You guys all who listen to the Dial Podcast, thank you so much. Go check us out on social media at Dial Podcast on Facebook and Instagram. Shoot us an email if you guys have any questions or have anything to add to the show, info@dialpodcast.com. And we will be more than happy to interact with you and actually encourage it. We'd love to hear from you. Thank you for listening so much. We'll see you next week. Bye for now.